Broadcasting live to tape from beautiful Monmouth County, New Jersey. We're in a clear night. You can almost see me as Vincent Hanna and Randy as Neil McCauley. It's the RutgersKev Show.
Kevin O'Keefe gets the win at Charlotte.
Kevin O'Keefe is going to take his first win and only his third start in the series. Beautiful job for Kevin O'Keefe.
Gonna troll me forever.
Oh my gosh, Sean. Yeah, Sean, take a look at his on his feet there.
Very appropriate today. Oh boy.
I'm Matt Malone. I stream iRacing, but when I'm not racing, I'm listening to the RutgersKev Show with your host, RutgersKev.
How does he have 38 viewers?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the RutgersKev Show. I want to start this out with just talking about what happened with the 6 Hours of the Glen from iRacing. So, if you haven't heard, the 6 Hours of the Glen was canceled, and Randy and I did a 40-minute long episode where Randy and I just argued with each other for 40 minutes straight, and it was basically like Monty Python's How to Have an Argument. I say, yes it is, and then Randy goes, no it isn't, and I say, yeah, yes it is, and that's like what it was for 40 minutes. And I don't really think it accomplished anything, and I think maybe it Randy was kind of taking iRacing side, and he's I don't feel it was right that to have Randy speak for iRacing, because Randy doesn't work for iRacing, so I'm not putting that episode out. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to talk about how I feel about the 6 Hours of Glen being canceled, and I'm going to recap a little bit of what Randy said, why he suspects it was canceled. So I'll give you a little factual basis, okay? So a couple of weeks ago, we did a whole series of episodes about special events, and one of the things we said how special events can be approved was no special events on week 13 ever. There's no reason to have a special event when you have a brand new build and there's going to be bugs, and there's no reason for it, okay? All it does is going to cause problems. So any special events on week 13 should be moved. So what does iRacing do? They've realize the 6 Hours of the Glen is on week 13 where they're going to have the June build, so they cancel it. They don't postpone it, they cancel it. And their reason for canceling was clear in the forums, because they don't want to race on week 13. Well, so move it to a different weekend. Why just outright cancel it? And Randy said that they can't move it because every single weekend from then until like all the way out towards the end of the year, almost every single weekend is already booked by the World Championship Series, either the World Championship Road or the Endurance Series, the VRS Endurance Series, or another special event where it's taking up every single weekend. So there's no way that they could have a 6 Hours of the Glen and run, let's just say, the 6 hours of the VRS Endurance Series. And that set me off. Like I was red-faced. I was red-faced because, like, why should me as a 2500 I rating suffer? And I do mean that. I mean suffer, because I don't get to enjoy a special event, the 6 Hours of the Glen, because guys with 7,000, 9,000, 10,000 I rating have to run their VRS. Let them run their VRS Endurance Series. Schedule the 6 Hours of the Glen at the same time. What's the big deal, right? Well, Randy's counter argument was these special events are a big deal for the top iRacers. It's a big deal for them to win the 6 Hours of the Glen, have it broadcasted on Race Spot, etc., etc. And one, if they can't compete because they're already busy doing whatever they're doing with their black stripes, and two, if Race Spot is busy because they're broadcasting it, it's not in iRacing's best interest. It's not in the top driver's best interest. And for me, I say screw that. I say that we deserve to have fun as regular members. iRacing has multiple tens of thousands of members, and there's how many black stripes? 300. Why is iRacing tailoring themselves towards the black stripes? Okay, I don't think we need to go any farther than that. I think it pretty much sums it up, okay? But that took 40 minutes, arguing between me and Randy, and I brought out charts and graphs, and I showed how the disparity between the I ratings is and where the bulk of the I ratings at 1,300 on the road, and I was like, all these people can't have fun, and that's what it was just long, and I don't want to I didn't want to do that because I'm sure there's people that would take Randy's side, but I'm sure the majority would be on my side, and I don't want Randy's opinion as to why it didn't get moved to be taken as iRacing's official word, because that's pretty much how it was coming across. And I don't want to put Randy in that situation where he's speaking for iRacing, because he's a broadcaster, but he's not the voice of iRacing. Okay? So I would like you to watch this. In this bit, RutgersKev goes to the iRacing headquarters to talk about team racing. Let's listen in. Welcome to iRacing. How can I help you, young man? I thought it would be a good idea to make a team and run in the 12 hours of Sebring with my viewers. This way, the goodwill with my community can grow over the years. Well, that's a fantastic idea. A really smart decision, young man. You can create a team using our functional homepage. Just click Teams, then go to Create a Team, then invite members. Don't forget to make them admins or they can't register, and it's gone. What? It's gone. It's all gone. What's all gone? The 12 hours of Sebring. The servers didn't do so well. It's gone. Well, what do you mean? I have a team and we've been practicing and... Not anymore, you don't. Poof! Well, what can I do? Can I reschedule the race? I'm sorry, sir, but this line is for Black Stripe members only. But I just came here to create a team. Does your team have a black stripe? No, my team hasn't run a race because you canceled it. Then please stand aside for people who actually have skill. Next, please. Oh, hello, Mr. Williams. How are you today? Looking forward to the 6 hours of Glen, are we? Great. We can get you into the top split, have it broadcasted on Race Spot, and it's gone. What? Yeah, sorry. That's all gone. Please step aside for people who actually have skill and can race in our World Championship events. Next, please. Hey, Randy, can you come help? Hey, I'm trying to teach my friend the importance of special events. You canceled the 12 hours of Sebring and the 6 hours of the Glen? Oh, Mr. Chenoweth, good to see you. Don't worry. We hear you like dirt racing, and we have a special event just for you, and it's gone! This line is for people who actually have skill, can race in our World Championship events. Please step aside. So what's being done instead is Craig Williams of Craig's Setup Shop is actually hosting his own Watkins Glen 6 hours that Race Spot is going to broadcast. And it's going to be on the same day of the actual Watkins Glen 6 hours. And so there's going to be two splits, but it's all based on qual time. And the top drivers are going to run, and then the second driver is going to be a second split. But really only the top split is going to be broadcasted. So again, it's more tailored towards the top drivers. It's just fine. I mean, Craig Williams is a setup maker for a top team. The top drivers want to run the 6 hours of the Glen. Let them have the fun, right? But in my opinion, it makes me even more steamed, because why does it fall on us? Why does it fall on the content creators to make the 6 hours of the Glen? Why does it fall on Craig to pay, hypothetically, I would assume, money out of his own pocket to pay Race Spot to broadcast this event, something that iRacing is supposed to give us as part of our membership? iRacing is already pretty expensive. It shouldn't be on us, the members, the content creators, the people that have some sort of sway in this, to put on what I would consider special events. Okay, so my guest this week is Mike Ouellette, and he is, what would you call yourself, Mike? Are you like the owner of the major series? Are you the president? Are you the organizer? What would you call yourself?
I definitely am the owner, but Joe Peak always calls me the series organizer, so I think that's
okay.
It sums it up well.
Okay, so the major series, anybody who follows my channel, they know what the major series is, because I'm totally invested in it this year. I think it's a great idea. But you talk about something that falls on Mike to put this on. So let me just give you the quick rundown. I've ran this over with a lot of different interviews. I've tried to talk about the major series. So the major series, if you go to pacificmajors.com, you can find out about this. So the major series, let me bring it up here on the screen if I can figure out how to do that. Okay. So the major series is a series of events that is put on by Mike, and there's 4 different regions. There's the Atlantic in the U.S., there's the Pacific for U.S., then there's the international region, which is mostly for people in Australia. Then there's the European region. But anybody can race on whatever region they want. It's more for time slots, right? And what he does is basically run the special events schedule how it should be, right? So he runs, there's 2.4 hours at Daytona, there's Daytona 500, there's a 200 lap Silver Crown race. We're talking 2.4 hours of the Nürburgring, right? The full Indy 500, 2.4 hours of Spa, the full Pocono 500, and like some oddball events, like for me, oddball, right? So we're running the Lotus 49 at Silverstone on July 15th. We're running the F1 cars at Suzuka on September 30th, and is running some dirt events like the Knoxville Nationals, right? This is what special events should be. This is what iRacing should be doing, but instead it falls on Mike to do it. So, speaking a little bit for Mike, so this started as the Pacific Majors, right? That was the first name of it, right, Mike?
Actually, it was the Northwest Majors
right.
in 2014, and
well, that's
2015 it became the Pacific Majors.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I didn't know what the original name was. So it was just but I knew it was just for members of the Northwest Club. So Mike, as a way to get his club together, put this on as the Northwest Majors, and you had to be a member of the Northwest Club. Then it was like popular and more people wanted in, so they expanded it out to you had to be in the Pacific region of the U.S. to run in this. I forget all the different clubs, but basically western part of U.S. Right? So then it was Pacific Majors. It was broadcasted on the Global Sim Racing channel, and these events were pretty cool. Like me as a person watching it, I was like, damn, and I want to run in that. That looks like fun. But I couldn't because I'm a New Jersey boy. So this year, Mike went from like running at 75 miles per hour to running at like 3,000 miles per hour, and like expanded the league out to what I talked about before. So now there's 4 regions with 4 different broadcast partners with 4 different time slots, and each time slot, assuming there's enough members, has multiple splits. It's crazy. How many members do you have in the league total, Mike?
Just over 1,200.
1,200. That's got to be the largest league in iRacing, right?
It's one of them for sure. It's the largest active by far.
Yeah, it's got to be. And so how many people do you have like running this with you, or like I don't know what you call them, admins or something?
Right. So I brought some guys on. We call them the competition committee, and basically I've got 3 guys that help me primarily, and that's John King and Wayne Hutchison and Adam Young, and then myself. So yep.
So this is what I mean. It falls, I can't get a classic Lotus Grand Prix at Silverstone. Right? The World Tour, as it used to be called when special events first started, would have an event like that. But now they're just really focusing on, I guess, quote unquote, popular things. Right. So
the team events mostly, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then really, that's really what it's been. It's been team events. And that really is another thing that we talked about before. It's like, why can't there be more 2.4 hour events? But there's no reason to rehash things again. But yeah, exactly. Why does it fall on Mike to organize and get broadcast partners for a 2.4 hour event? Why can't iRacing do this? And it's not so, Mike, how many hours per week now that the season is going on? Because I'm sure it was more when we were on the off season. How many hours per week do you put into organizing this league?
Oh, at current, it's minimum 20, 30. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, it has to be. And then that's probably not even including like every 5 minutes you get a message on Discord.
That's pretty accurate. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a big effort. So time is one thing. Okay. So Mike, get people to join the majors. How do people sign up? Give them the spiel.
Well, you nailed it with the website. So you go to pacificmajors.com, and there's a join now button right at the top. So that would be the easiest way to do it. But check the website out. See if it's something that's for you. I like to think it's for most people, but honestly, as you said, Kevin, we run pretty much everything in the world. If it's relevant, if it's important, if it was important, If it's iconic, if it's prestigious, I like to think that we run it at some point. We don't do them all every year, obviously, but that's one of the cool things is doing a different schedule every year. But yeah, if you get jazzed up for the big events, that's the only thing we run. So, and if you get jazzed up for running in multiple splits with guys that are of similar caliber to you, in what I think does a better job than an iRating split, although I do think iRating splits do good or do well, I think the way we do it does even better. And I think the competition is way more uniform throughout the splits than in official.
So at the top left corner of PacificMajors.com, it says join the majors. You can see it on your screen. And there's just the entry form. So the majors is free, right?
You can absolutely race for free. We have 14 regular season events that you can join for free. And if you want to be able to race in the special events and get some other perks, obviously we have a season pass available.
Right. So talk a little bit about the season pass. Is that something that's new for this year?
No, definitely not. Like last year, for example, as we've sort of matured as a series, starting with the Northwest Majors, and then the first couple of years was the Pacific Majors. We've always had a season pass to help cover the cost. But last year in the Pacific Majors, we required you to have a pass in order to race at all. So there were no free members whatsoever. And that's because we had, one or two splits just in the Pacific region every week. And it made most sense to do that. And once we opened it up to the whole world, I realized there was going to be a lot of people who weren't going to be willing to just fork over $30 or something that they weren't familiar with yet. But in the end, my goal, frankly, would be that, a large percentage of the league is our pass holders, and we want to make sure that the perks and the benefits that they get for being one outweigh the free option.
All right. So I knew right from the beginning when I saw this that the cost of this is going to be through the roof for you guys, and I would gladly give you guys $30 to run in it. Is it 30 or 35 for season pass?
It's 30.
Okay, so I was happily going to give you guys $30 to run in this, okay? Because I knew that what you guys were putting on was monumental. So so there may be people on here that don't really know how the hosted system works in iRacing. So can you give people a brief little recap of what your costs are?
Yeah, so total cost.
Let's just leave the broadcast aside.
Oh, all right. Well, so hosting is going to run about $1,500 for the year.
Just that. Just listen to that, okay? Mike is filling a gap that iRacing is missing. He's giving you a series of races with a good point system, with qualifying throughout the week, with certain rules. Really, you want to make this league perfect, it would need live admins, but other than that, it's perfect. And trust me, I've caused my series my fair share of wrecks, so I'm very happy that there's no live admins. I would have like 7 stop and goes so far. But anyway, so he's offering you the racing in it has been fantastic on the road side. On the oval side, we really have only done Daytona 500 and the Silver Crown. So I really can't. Daytona 500 is so setup dependent, especially for qualifying, that it's really hard to even say anything. I'm looking forward to this World 600 that's coming up, though. But the roadside racing has been fantastic. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Okay, so $1,500 that goes to iRacing. So he's paying iRacing to fill a hole that they should be putting on for their members. And that's with a severe discount because Mike gets a volume discount, which everybody gets if they host enough. But isn't it like 30 cents per hour or something like that, Mike?
Yes, that's correct. It's just over that, but yep.
Yeah, so that's how many hours he's putting on. Because every race week, there's 24 hours a day practice sessions, and then there's qualifying sessions that aren't 24 hours that run at a certain time. Are you looking at, how many practice sessions per week? Mike?
Well, it's 144 hours of practice every week, and I don't know on qualifying. It's significantly less, but it's still several hours.
It's just crazy. So we charge people $30, and then some people they even actually complain about that. It's like I already pay my membership. I'm not paying no $30, right? Okay, so now you're looking at what the real cost is, and I'm already cringing. I'm already cringing. What so what I said. So I actually recorded a podcast with the broadcasters from Global Sim Racing Channel, and Randy's a co-host on the show. So I obviously am uh, familiar with RaceSpot. Unfortunately, the podcast with Global Sim Racing Channel, it didn't record properly, so we can't put that out. I do plan on doing another one with them, but I know what they charge, and I know that they're not. I know, like at first glance, that seems like a lot, but you look at like all the work that those guys put in, they're not making any money from it. I mean, really. So, but you look at let's see, how many events are there? There's 14 events plus the 3 special events, 17 events, right? And one's a 24-hour race. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. And there's multiple splits, but not all of them are broadcasted. So, do you know what your total amount is for the broadcast? I'm already cringing. Am I willing to guess? Um, I'd say just under like 5,000, like 4,800.
You're crazy. It's almost 9,000.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wasn't. I have no idea what those other 2 guys charge. Nine. All right. So you're talking $10,000 to run this league. I don't.
Doesn't include the prizes. So
right.
It's about 25. It's about 12.5 is total.
Now you do have some sponsors to offset that, but I'm sure they're not paying you $1,200.
No. We charge $200 a race for sponsorship, which I think is a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
And I've still got about half of them to sell, so hopefully we do.
All right. So how can people reach you if they want to sponsor?
Well, you can reach me at mike@mean18.com. You can reach me on Facebook through the Major Series group. You can reach me on Discord, the Major Series Discord channel. So lots of ways.
Yeah. So if you go to pacificmajors.com, you can just hit Discord. It takes you right to the Discord.
You got it.
Yeah. So, but I don't mean to like run people away with thinking about starting a league on iRacing. Mike's league is above and beyond what quote unquote normal league would be, especially with broadcasts. But because you can get broadcasting a lot cheaper with some other, but they're not the same quality. And one thing about Mike is that he went with the top broadcasters for every single group. I mean, you can't. I mean, GSRC is my favorite. I've said that publicly. So I would have them do the Atlantic and the Pacific, but you really can't. You can't go wrong with the broadcasters that you picked.
Yeah, totally. So GSRC it's kind of, I mean, for me, it's a neat story. It's probably boring for everybody else, but so we started in 2013. Actually, it was before the series became the series. We broadcast. I ran a Northwest Indy 500 in 2013. That was the very first race we did that was majors-esque, if you will. And Kevin Brown, who was working with GSRC at the time, also a Northwest Club member, he says, hey, look, they were just starting out. And he said, let's broadcast this race. We'll do it on our channel. We won't charge anything. I said, perfect, can't beat that. And literally every single race we've ever done since then, GSRC has been on. So for 5 years, they've been broadcasting our stuff, which is pretty cool. But this year, obviously when we expanded, we knew that GSRC wouldn't be able to do all of them. And in fact, probably not realistic. We couldn't do more than one. They have other commitments as well. And so it was important to me that that we have only the best people doing it, especially for our top splits. And I've had a long relationship with Will at RaceSpot through the World Cup, and so they were a no-brainer. I felt like
you're involved with the World Cup too. Another thing
right.
that iRacing's completely dropped the ball on.
Well,
keep going.
Anyway, yes. So Will has done a lot of free broadcasting for me, but really for us with regard to the iRacing membership for the World Cup specifically over the years. As a matter of fact, the World Cup was the very first broadcast that Glacier TV ever did, which Will obviously was a part of that and ended up becoming RaceBot. But so I felt like it was important for me to get RaceBot involved because I felt like A, I owed it to him, and B, they do a great job. So they were number 2 on my hit list, and then I know Jay Kennedy from V8's Online. Big fan of him personally, and just of the work that they do. And it was also really important to me that somebody that had an in, if you will, or was just ingrained in the Aussie community was doing the broadcast for us in that region. I hope that would pull in a lot more drivers. I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in the international split so far this year, but I think that'll turn around. And then lastly, with LSR TV, they helped us out a couple years ago with the second split of the Pacific Majors, and Evan Pasoko and all those guys at LSR TV, been big fans, and they do a good job, especially on the oval stuff. They'll be the first to admit that the road is not their forte, but on oval they've got it nailed, and hopefully they grow with us and get better and better at the roadside. So that's how we pick those 4.
Now, in a league the size of yours, it's hard to get the rules out to everybody. So before the season started, you used YouTube as a way to do some tutorials about the rules. So how'd you come up with that idea? Since the first year you've done it, what's your advice to other leagues that may are thinking about doing the same thing?
How did I come up with I don't know how I came up with the idea, to be honest with you. I probably thought, hey, I've got a YouTube channel and I want to make sure I get as many subscribers on it as possible from the league so that I can leverage that at some point, if I'm being totally honest. But
well, I think it's a I think it's a good idea, because I mean, I am a trial attorney, so these are the things I think about. So people learn nowadays through the visual medium, right? So always in closing arguments and stuff, I always like to have like my iPad up, so I put something up on the screen, because people are used to like looking at their phones, right? People don't want to sit there and like read a rule book. So to have like a YouTube video explaining what's going on, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was totally agree with you, and that would have been my second reason for having one. Would have been just, I want people to have as many different ways as possible to consume the information. Like you said, that people like it in different ways. And honestly, I've been criticized for that this year way more than I expected.
Yeah,
people are like, well, gosh, you've got the information in so many different places, it's hard to keep up. That's fair. It's totally fair. But I try to keep it in as many places as possible so that it's easier to keep up, if you will. But in the defense of the people who are being critical, sometimes one element will get updated perfectly and another element won't be, and so there can be a discrepancy in information on occasion, and that's frustrating for everybody, myself included. And so you kind of like, gosh, was it worth it to put it out there in all those different spots? And I would still say yes, absolutely. It's the gain is way better than the cost.
Now, another thing that you did, which I thought was cool until the results came out, then I got steamed and I maybe made some enemies in this league before I even started, but I don't care. You had a draft of all the people that weren't on a team. I thought that was a really cool idea. I'm surprised it didn't get more popular than what it was in terms of the viewership or the people actually attending. Like, a lot of the team managers didn't even make their draft picks, but I thought that was pretty cool. So talk to me about how you came up with that idea.
Again, it was just one of those things, brainstorming in the off season, to be honest. And again, I'll back up a second. Knowing how important it is in our league, especially, to be on a team, because we run everything, right? I mean, you've said it before. We run any type of car you can imagine, any kind of track you imagine, and nobody's going to be an expert at all those things. I don't care who you are. And so you want to be able to pull in resources from wherever. And so that the team element is really, really important. And we've sort of amped up the Constructors Championship and the team element even more. And so I knew that from a retention perspective, in terms of the number of drivers that stuck with us year after year after year, the likelihood of you getting the most out of the series and the likelihood of you staying with us and becoming a season pass holder and enjoying your time with the majors was amplified incredibly by being on a team, right, and being on an active team. And so I thought we've got to try to do everything we can to get people on a team. And so that's really where the draft idea was born. Now, to your point, you're exactly right. It wasn't well attended live. A lot of the people who signed up for the draft didn't end up being active in the league, and they weren't invested. And so next year, I'll break some news. Not that it's huge news or anything, but next year for sure, guaranteed 100%. If you would like to be in the draft as a driver, you must be a season pass holder. And again, that's not to exclude anybody, but it is an indicator, a predictor of how active you're going to be in the league. And I think that we'll get a much better result out of it as such.
Yeah, and it's the reason why I went into the draft is because I'm not a setup guy. I'm just not. I just like driving, and I wouldn't know a Phillips head from a monkey wrench, right? I really have no idea. So I wanted to get on a team to help with setups and stuff, and that's why I joined the draft. And unfortunately, the whole it hasn't been like a great experience. I'm on Thunder Road. We're not very active. I don't believe that many of us have even run all 5 races. In fact, I mean, I would have to look, but I may be the only one that's run all 5 races.
Yeah, it's too bad that you ended up in that situation. And again, that team, I don't know that you know. Well, I think you do know this actually. It's ironic because that was the team I was on last year when I was more of an active driver.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, as an admin, and Ray Fournier is the owner of that team, and he's had a lot of personal stuff going on.
Oh yeah. There's reasons,
and that's not helped things out. But your point is valid. You know, you joined this team with high hopes, and it didn't work out. So our goal will be just to bulletproof that more next year.
And really, like nobody's shared a setup. I've been like the only one. So anyway, it just really hasn't worked out that way. And with the oval, I mean, road is what it is. I'm sure setup means things, but to me, with my skill level, just give me the VRS setup, I'm fine, right? But on the oval side, setup is so important. So I'm actually kind of dreading the 600 a little bit because you obviously have a lot of power teams with peak drivers in them, and I mean, you know, not peak antifreeze series drivers. So they obviously run their peak setups and share it with the team. Like the competition in the majors is like, it's so weird. This is another thing I want to just mention. I don't know if you have a comment on it, but so I practiced Nürburgring 2.4 for 3 weeks because I knew if I didn't, I'd suck. So I went out there, and like for the first couple of days, I couldn't even turn a lap, and I finally turned a complete lap and ran like a 39. And I was like, woohoo, a 39, that's the goal. You know, 8 minute 39 seconds. Okay, let's put it in a reference. I wound up running 808s. Okay, and that's not even fast compared to some guys. Okay, so I was like, okay, 839, that's the goal, right? And I really put the work in and got, you know, pretty decent. I wound up 16th in the race, but I should have been 15th. I had a pit road error. I had to make a third pit stop. Lost a spot there. So I ran up 15th in the top split, and there were 2 splits. So I'm pulling up the AM results now. I don't know how many drivers were in 29. And in pro, something like 50, right?
Yeah, it was just under 50.
Pro had 47. So 47 and 29, quick math, is roughly 76. So out of 76 drivers, I went up 16th. And I feel like apparently I wound up 17th. I'm looking at the results now. But I lost 1 spot in the pits. That's all that matters with my extra pit stop. I only lost out to Jimbo. But anyway, so I wound up 17th out of 70. Boy, that's pretty damn good for somebody like me. And I feel like I suck because I'm racing against like Challenger beat me by 3 minutes and 14 seconds. It's, you know, it's kind of like the level of competition is just crazy. But what's good about the majors is that I feel like the guys I'm racing with every week are the guys I should be racing with, and that's really how the iRacing splitting system is supposed to work. Like, I really feel like, yeah, sure, I'm battling for 15th in general in the points, but like every week I'm running around those guys, and it literally gives you a sense of competition around the people that are around your skill level, which is what the iRating system is supposed to do, and is what the major series is just doing just by having limited qual. That's really all it takes, especially on the road side. Just limit qual, and whatever you qual at, that's where you start. And if you're fast, you make top split. And if you're slow, you make the AM split, and you run with people around your skill level. And that's a little advertisement for the majors.
I appreciate it.
But it's yeah, but I'm saying, but it's we're in a game. This harkens back to why Watkins was canceled. We're in a game where we're in racing, right? In racing, if you're not first, you're last, right? Right. So like we're in a game where the top is what matters. Like even for the broadcast, I could be having a great battle for 16th, and it's going to take a back seat if there's a great battle for first, and rightfully so, right? Because first is where it's at, right? Top 5 is where it's at, right? And I'm never going to be top 5 on road overall. I'm just not. But I'm still having fun, is what I'm saying. And the major series allows you to have fun because you're racing around people that are around your skill level, and it makes you get better. I think, put words in your mouth. One thing that's great about the major series is that you're running a different car and a different track every week. Like you're literally running a different car, right? So it's not a GT3 series. You're going from the Cup car to GT3 to Lotus 49 to the F1 car to dirt. I've never ran dirt before in my life, and I'm probably will never run dirt until the major series gets there. I have no interest in running dirt, but I'll buy it. I'll buy it for the major series.
You're gonna love it.
Well, I have a torn rotator cuff. I don't want to deal with fighting dirt, but I will. But I will for the major series.
You can turn the force feed back down.
I already have it down. Yeah, I run force feedback at a 3.
Oh wow, you do have it down.
Yeah. But in good news, I bought a Formula wheel with my Kentucky Derby winnings.
Very nice.
So yeah, maybe that'll make me better. Yeah. So what were you gonna say? I was because I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I mean, I was basically just going to say I appreciate the endorsement, and really, you couldn't have said it better than I like to say it. We have so many people that join the series who are specialists in one type of racing. I mean, and that's mostly everybody, right? You start out, you have an interest in one type of racing. That's why you joined iRacing to begin with. That's why you started sim racing, as you were a fan of a particular type of racing. That's most of the people, I think, when they join, right? For me, it was NASCAR, and I've branched out into everything else. But we've got like people like Brian Bennett in the Northwest Club, who was strictly road, and now he's Indy 500 winner last year, and he's gotten good enough on the oval side that I've heard GSRC occasionally refer to him as an oval specialist, and they're doing it sincerely. It's totally not true, but it's sincere, and that's a testament to how much he has improved his game on that side of things. And I think anybody who's doing, like Blake, I mean, he's awesome on everything. Christian Challoner is awesome on everything, even though they're known as peak drivers, right? So they get an opportunity to test themselves in disciplines that they wouldn't otherwise, and to improve their skills. And I think those skills are transferable to the next skill, and to the next skill, and to the next one, or to the next discipline. And so you sort of improve all around when you're improving one of them, which I think is an awesome thing about the series.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely made me better on road because, well, I also got VR, which I also think has made me 15 times better on road. I feel so much more comfortable on road in VR. I don't know if you have any experience with VR.
Nah, minimal.
But when I became fast, which was like in 2012. Before then, I would be like a piddly driver. When I became fast in 2012, I like felt the car, and I'm talking oval NASCAR here, strictly NASCAR. I felt the car. Like I kind of knew what the car was doing by what I would call weight transfer. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous sounding because it's not like we have force feedback in our bodies, right? But I could feel the weight transfer in the car. So I knew like when the weight transferred over to the left side in the middle of the corner, and I could get back on the gas. And that's when I became fast. And I never, ever had that feeling on the roadside. I always feel like I was floating above the track and not like in it until I got VR. then I was like, okay, you brake, and I can feel the weight drip down, and then I can see the apex. I can dive in. I can, I feel so much more comfortable on the road side of things with VR. That's an endorsement for VR. I haven't really run that much in oval because basically I've been loving road so much with VR. So I really can't comment either way. I will say that it's really hard to judge the front of your car. So Daytona 500, I actually caused a wreck in running. I was a third car in line the inside, and I ran into the back of the guy who was second in line when he checked up a little bit, and I was checking up too. But it's just so hard to judge where the front of your car is in VR. So I obviously didn't check up enough, and I hit the guy in the rear. We caused a big wreck. Luckily, there's a free reset, so I wound up with a pretty decent finish in that. 11th I finished. I don't think I was ever beating Blake in his setup, but I was running up front. But anyway, that's my only knock on VR from the oval side. I'm looking forward to Indy 500.
Yeah, I imagine visibility will be better, obviously.
Well, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Indy 500, we obviously are using the new Indy car, but I really consider myself a serious contender in that race. It depends on setup, obviously, and I don't know any setups with this new car, and I have to wind up getting a setup from somebody. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But I mean, I'm a former iRacing Indy 500 winner. I've always been in contention to win. Like last year, I crashed out going for the lead with 10 laps left. I've crashed out running top 5 in the past. 2 years ago, I had to race 1, and I got a speeding. We had to pit under green, and I sped. I finished 8th, the last car on the lead lap, even with a second stop. I still wound up on the lead lap. I mean, I'm pretty good at the Indy 500, so I'm looking forward to that one. That really is Pocono 500. I did run the World Tour when they ran it at the Pocono for the IndyCar, but I didn't really like it. I think it's just flat out, and you're just holding your track position all race. I don't really like races like that. So I think in Indy 500 is really like my one chance to have a really good finish in the major series. So I'm looking forward to that. And the good news is that it's June 3rd, so it's after the iRacing Indy 500. So we'll definitely have our setups down.
Right. Yeah, you'll notice we always do it that way. My formula is we run the races. If it's at all possible, we run the race 1 week after the real world race. Never on the date of the real world race, but always 1 week after.
Well, I liked that the Nürburgring was before the actual event because I would have never ran in the 24-hour if not for the major series. And not only did I run the 24 hours, I ran it twice, and I was the fastest car on the team both times. And that's all because I had to put the work in for the major series.
Yeah, it's probably true, and that's very cool. Obviously, in this year we just worked that out that way with regard to how we fell against the iRacing World Tour one. But obviously, whenever that does happen, I sort of hope that people will use our series as a tune-up, if you will. But in the long run, my goal would be that our series is actually the premier one, and the iRacing World Tour would be secondary.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a lull. I just was told, spoiler alert, that I'm going to get into the All-Star race. The major series, it's an All-Star race Saturday, 19th. World 600's on May 20th. But I'm kind of in a lull here. Daytona 2.4 was with the camel cars, and I really had to practice that because I've never driven a camel car before. Daytona 500 I didn't have to practice for, but it's Daytona, and it was Daytona week. So basically, I was just running nonstop Daytona between the Pro Series and the NASCAR iRacing Series. So that was whatever, but I was constantly in the car. Then the Silver Crown, I was slow. I was unexpectedly slow, so I had to put in a lot of work there. So I was constantly practicing that. Coda, I knew I had a chance at a top 5 if I put the work in. So I put a lot of work in. I wound up getting top 5 because somebody had a connection issue. But hey, top five, right? So I put a lot of seat time in for that one. Then the Nürburgring came up, and boy did I put the seat time in. Right now, what am I going to do? Because the next two races are the World 600 and Indy 500. Like I could drive those blindfolded. So I'm a very goal orientated person, and so it's like the last couple of days I've kind of been like not even motivated to sign into iRacing because I'm like, oh, what's next on the schedule? Oh, the World 600, great. Another thing about the major series is that you have mandatory practice, so you have to run an hour of practice during race week. And it's like, okay, go into the corner, dab the brake, let's go around in a circle again.
Well,
Like, so,
hopefully it's more than that, obviously. And for all, and again, one of the things, you're highlighting something important though, is for you, NASCAR is old hat, right? It's nothing new for you. That is not the case for a significant portion of the people running, right? And Europeans, etc. It's a new experience for them. This may be the very first time they run a 600, which is awesome, right? And that's what I'm all for. But that is probably if we ran the same cars every week, if we were a GT3 series or a NASCAR series or whatever, we wouldn't have mandatory practice because the people in your league, you would have a limited number and they would know what they're doing eventually. But in what we're doing, it's important to me that the quality of racing is good week in and week out. And when you're running stuff that you haven't necessarily run before, that doesn't just happen. So while it can be a nuisance on one week for somebody, it's an overall positive. I think that's the hope anyway. Sorry for the rant.
that's not a rant. That's a rant. That was for like 30 seconds. So I went on for like 4 minutes straight. I'm going to move on to NASCAR's announcement that they are partnering with iRacing. So Mike, if you want to stick around with that, you can. If not, I'll let you go. I know you have a family.
Well, I'd love to. I know you're wanting to bury the dead horse, but I'd like to comment on the 6 hours of the Glen thing, real quickly.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I guess I didn't give you the comment. I kind of spoke for you because it's kind of like I kind of am mad that it falls on you. It falls on you guys that actually pay iRacing extra money to run these things. So please, the floor is yours.
So I'm actually not going to take your side on it entirely. While I wish I didn't have to pay. I mean, I enjoy doing the series. Honestly, that's what I love to do. But I wish I didn't have to pay for the hosted sessions. I will agree with that 100%. I wish maybe that the broadcasts were covered. All that would be cool. I mean, that would be awesome, but it's not the case. Truthfully, when I look at iRacing, and I've been around for a long time, I really, really believe that they need to continue to master the sim aspect and everything that goes into that. I don't even necessarily think they should be running any major events, whether it's the special events or whether it's the dirt pro championships or whether it's the NASCAR pro champ. I honestly don't. I think that should be something that they outsource or have somebody dedicated to it that is the only thing that they do. And that is not something that they've necessarily been willing to invest in yet. But I think it would be well worth it for them to do so. I just do. I just do. Somebody who's, and obviously selfishly, I would love for that to be me. But in any regard or capacity, but I think that that's just their area of expertise is not in running an esport. It's in putting software together and running servers and things like that. So as much as I think honestly it's opened an opportunity for somebody like me is the way that I would look at it. And I would love, in 2019, my goal would be that the major series is similar to what it is today, but it also incorporates all of the team events and all of the 24-hour events and all of the, the big events that people want to have. And that, the iRacing official stuff fades away. And if that can be a partnership, I think that's awesome. If there's a way to work together, I think that's great. But I'd love to have my hand in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. If they're going to do it, they should do it right. In terms of the esports side, I wish Randy was here so we could talk about that some more because that's the one thing that he really wants to do. So what would you do right now to change the esports side of it?
Uh, okay, well, many things, but I'll give
Well, if
you
you got
sort of,
the if you got the time, I mean, there's no limit.
yeah. So I I'll give you my outline of of how I would run a weekend for the majors, right? Or call it the World Tour, call it special events, whatever you want to call it, right? But how I would run the
Okay,
week.
so we're not talking about like a world championship series. We're talking about special events.
We could talk. To me, they're the same. To me, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
See,
but you can
okay.
talk about either one. So if you want me to talk about the World Championship Series, we could totally do that.
Well,
But
what job are you shooting for? Let's talk about that because people from iRacing listen to this. I know,
yeah,
so
well,
they're hearing you.
so iRacing, we have a very good relationship. Obviously, I've run the
Yeah, yeah.
World Cup for a long time.
You better have a good relationship.
Oh, you're funny.
You've,
I've run the World Cup for a long time, and I think we've done a good job with that. And so there's a lot of trust that's been built up over the last 6 years in that. When the competition director position came available, I don't know, a year ago to a year and a half ago or whatever, I actually did apply for that. But I wasn't willing to relocate, so understandably, they went with a different direction, which is totally cool. But again, I think that they need to be that person, that's their job. That needs to be their whole job. Is running the world championships, is running the special events, is running anything like that, right? And is running the World Cup, doing what I'm doing with that, right? So that if they're going to do it in house, I think that needs to be a dedicated position, and that's all they do. That is their job, is to make sure that those things go off flawlessly and perfectly. And part of that, in my mind, is for any special event, for any World Championship Series race, we have got to be on hand during the race. I mean, that is absolutely 101, right? You know, esport 101. You got to be there when something hits the fan, because something's going to hit the fan, right? We're talking about the internet. It's not going to go perfectly. You have to be available and ready for whatever contingency has to be played out. And I'm a big believer that the more ready you are for things to fail, the less likely they are to fail. And we've seen that time and time again. So that'd be the very first thing that I would, if you want to call it a change, is just to make sure that there are contingencies in place for anything that could happen, and B, that we are there on site, on hand to respond to them. Too often, some of them will go badly with a special event, and there won't be a statement from iRacing for a couple of days. Now, I know darn well somebody's watching and somebody is there and saw that this happened, but for some reason the mute button is put on and they're not able to comment on it at the moment, when that needs to be, it needs to be out in the open right now. Hey guys, we're aware there's an issue. We're working on it. Even better, hey guys, we're aware there's an issue. Here's the contingency plan that we set up. Here's how we're going to roll. And if that contingency plan is we suck it up and the people who got disconnected get disconnected because it didn't reach a certain threshold, great, that's fine, as long as it's known, right? As long as it's planned for, whatever it might be. If it means that we postpone the event, if it means that we restart it in an hour, if it means whatever, it could mean a million different things, but those things should probably be mapped out. And so that would be the very first thing that I would change with any of those things.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, obviously, I'm in full agreement with that. And they'll exactly. If the response is, hey, we're sorry this happened, but you suck it up. Okay, at least we got a response. Too often we have to wait till Monday for a response.
Right, exactly. And again, I don't think it's because somebody's not there paying attention that they're unaware that it happened. That's the part that is frustrating is the wrong word, but is disappointing maybe. Is I know that there's somebody there that whether it's an engineer even, or whether it's the competition director, or whether it's whomever, they're aware that something went wrong. Let's just nip it in the bud. You'll notice that the trend is that every single time there's an issue, and then there's a statement on, like you said, Monday. It's a very, very common, right? So Monday, Tuesday, whatever, there's an official statement. At that moment in time, it sort of releases all the pressure and and not all, but a lot of the bad feelings. And a lot of people say, oh, hey, thanks for the statement. Well, that could have happened 2 days before. Right. You could have saved yourself a lot of bad feelings by just having that happen when it happened.
Right. Yeah, just hey, we know what's going on and when we're working on it. Just something like that. They don't
Right.
even right. I mean, all the and what I think I base everything they do on they should just copy what Blizzard does. Right? So all Blizzard does is they just send out a tweet. We are aware of some people that are disconnecting and we are working on the problem. There is no ETA right now. Right? That's all they say. And then eventually it fixes, right? That's all Blizzard does. But at least that one tweet satisfies everybody's urge because it's like, all right, they know about it and they're working on it. Maybe they aren't even working on it, but at least they put something out.
Exactly. It's a protocol.
Right.
Very, very important.
Okay, so would you be in favor of there being more special events if you were in charge? Like a 2.4 hours of Daytona and a 24 hours of
Right.
Daytona.
Okay, so good. I'm glad you asked that. So this is where I would talk about my perfect world, the schedule, right? So if we did if I was in charge of the world tour specifically, and that was the only one that there was, and we're talking about the 24 hours of Daytona, right? The Rolex 24, the first big event of the year. We'll just talk about that one. The way that I would set it up is sort of how we have it with the majors now, in that we have a support event. So the week before you would do the Roar, and everybody could do that. That would be a short event. Then you'd have your week of lead up practice, of course, and all the servers and all that good stuff. And then on the weekend of the race, there would be 4 races, okay? And if things go well, this is how it's going to happen next year. But there would be 4 races, and there would be 3 that are 2.4 hours or thereabouts, right? So you'd have Daytona 2.4 for the Americans, right? For the American regions, whether it's Atlantic Pacific, a mix of the two, whatever. You'd have a 2.4 for the European region, and you'd have a 2.4 for the international region. And then you would have a 24-hour race. Now, none of those races would overlap. There's plenty of time on the weekend to make that happen. And you'd only have one 24-hour race, none of this 2-split stuff. You'd have one big team event, and that'd be the 24-hour race. And then on either side of that, you could have the 2.4s of your choosing, whatever region suited you the best. But basically, as it stands now, you don't necessarily know from round to round in the special events when the servers are going to go live, right? When the green flag is going to be, because it's different on every one, right? Whether it's an oval race, and the oval race they just run on NIS schedules, or they run the Indy 500, it's separate, it's independent, or they'll run whatever. It's never consistent. I would have it consistent start times for the 3 regions, if you will, or 4 regions, depending on the interest, and then the one big team event in the middle of the weekend, satisfying everybody's need. In my mind, at least, satisfying everybody's need, everybody's want with regard to being able to participate in a special event, how it suits them, and maybe enhancing that feeling even from where it is now.
All right, so I'd be in favor of that. Have 3 2.4s and 1 24. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you think about these offshoot things like the Lotus 79 used to be on the World Tour, or the MX5 at Bathurst? Man, that was a lot of fun. The Bathurst Festival, it was called. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would be in favor of more events like that?
So within reason, and what I mean by that is, and I don't have a perfect answer to this. I do know that there's a potential to have way too many events, right? And for me, a lot of people want to have the special events just be independent special events, not linked to one another whatsoever, and that's fine. It's a perfectly reasonable and valid opinion to have, but it's not mine. My opinion is that I want you to be able to participate in those events individually if you want to, right? You don't have to race in all of them, but I want you to be able to test yourself holistically, right, against everybody in all the different disciplines to see who is actually the best at all of these things. So number one, I would want the number of events to be small enough that it's reasonable for somebody to participate in the vast majority, and big enough so that you're not, don't have months in between events, if you will. So there's a fine line. And for me, that's a 3 or 4 week period of time between races in terms of the main races. Sport events are different, but that's sort of the feeling that I get is where I want that to be. Again, valid opinions otherwise, but that's mine. And it also gives us the opportunity to have years off on some of the events, right? So you don't have to run every event every year. In the majors, one of the things we do is we have crown jewels, and some people don't understand what that designation means? Well, they're the 4 most important events on the schedule in our mind, but it's also the events that never rotate off, right? So while the major schedule will have different events throughout the years, and we do every year, we have different events, the ones that will never ever fall off are the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, a Le Mans race of some sort, and at least one Formula One race, right? Otherwise, the schedule's open, and to doing things like you're talking about, right? The Lotus 79 at Silverstone, so it's a classic. And this year we had a theme of it's a classic, right? And so we did the classic 2.4 at Daytona. We're doing the classic Silverstone race, things like that. But I think there's a place for those things on the special event schedule. The only thing that I would personally be a stickler on, and again, other people can think otherwise, and I'd be fine if it went their way, but I want the race to have been real in real life, have some relevance in real life, hopefully some prestige in real life, but that's just me being sort of a purist on it. Otherwise, I think you're absolutely right.
Well, the Bathurst Festival is an actual event. It's just not.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just not, well known.
No, totally correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like for an example, Majors is not running Sebring this year, and you've run it in the past. You're just not.
Yeah,
It's
every year before this one, exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
It just rotated out, as you would say.
Exactly, that's right.
Okay. Now, what's your reaction to the idea that a special event can't be held the same weekend as one of these VRS World Championship events?
Right, that's completely silly in my mind. But I would say I would at least grant this. I do realize you want to have as little overlap as possible. So that's a given. Totally agree with that. You want to have as little overlap as possible. Makes sense from all perspectives. But sometimes you're going to have overlap. And so in my mind, if you're going to have overlap, the easy one is just to do it on the World Championship weekend of the Formula One race, because A, it's a lot shorter, right? The F1 World Championship race is way shorter, like an hour and a half.
Right.
Number 2, the people who are likely to participate in a World Tour special event / type event, you don't see Gregor Hutu running in the 6 hours of the Glen. You just don't. And the reason is they spend all their time getting that 1/10 of a second out of an F1 car. Whereas people who are running the VRS series, there's way more of them. There's like 200 pros in VRS, whereas there's only 50 in F1. But the skill set translates way more from the GT3 to what they do in the World Tour, because it's mostly GT3 races. So it makes a lot of sense to not overlap a VRS race. I could understand that, but there's no reason to avoid an F1 World Championship Series weekend. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Now, iRacing pays RaceSpot to broadcast these special events. So, are you saying that iRacing should pay more money to have more broadcasts, especially these 2.4-hour races? Now you're talking, 4 broadcasts a week as opposed to just the one.
I mean, that's a whole different topic. Look, I am all for the idea that iRacing should be profitable first and foremost. I have no issue whatsoever. I don't think that iRacing owes it to us to offer a World Championship Series or a World Tour Series. I think it's smart for them to offer those things. I don't think they owe it to us. And what I'm saying basically is I have no qualms whatsoever if iRacing were to do something similar to what we do with the major series, and that is, look, this is a pay to play, right? This is a bonus feature. It's like buying a track or a car, if you will. And so if you want to run in the special events, or if you want to try to qualify for the F1 series, or if you want to try to qualify for the NASCAR series, or if you want to try to qualify for the Rallycross series, whatever, right? You got to pay. Right? And it doesn't have to be much, $10, $15, $20, $30, whatever. It could be a small amount. It's token. But it'll weed out, if you're talking about the World Championship Series, and I'm tangenting a little bit here, it'll weed out a ton of people who there's no business for them even attempting to qualify. When I was a professional golfer and you would attempt to qualify for something like the US Open, you had to have a handicap that was so low, right? You couldn't, not anybody can just go attempt to qualify. And you have to
even though it's an open, it's not, Right.
It's not totally open.
Right.
And you still have to pay, by the way. You don't just get to go do it. So I would have no issue whatsoever if there was an entry fee for special events, right? It could be small. It could be simple. I'm fine if they don't do that too, but I think the potential is awesome if they were to do something like that. And there would be an uproar for sure. And I think that they should, in one way, shape, form, or another, we should absolutely master the process of doing the special events before that they would go down that route. But I think ultimately, yes, if there was the revenue to cover it, you could have absolutely the broadcast done and pay the broadcasters better. Because when you mentioned that broadcasting is expensive, I won't argue with you, but at the same time, my personal feeling on this, and I will say this to anybody who ever asks me, is that we get so much more for our dollar than we spend in value from these broadcasts. I mean, GSRC.
Yeah,
they're your favorite, right? They do
same.
amazing work, right? So yeah.
And that's what I wanted to. That was the theory of the episode with them. Is like, boy, people complain about the cost, but look what you're getting. And they split that 4 ways. So look how much work they're putting in for what kind of money they're getting. They honestly could charge double.
Well, they deserve double.
Yeah.
Whether they could or not is another story, right? Will the market bear that? I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing, because there's so many.
Eventually, it will.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's when I started streaming, I was one of the only people that streamed. So of course I was #1 streamer. Right now, there's more competition out there. Right. Same thing with broadcasting. There's anybody now can hop in a server, spectate, and put up an overlay and call themselves a broadcaster. Right. You just get there's different quality of broadcasting. So that's what you say about the market. It's like they can't price themselves out because other people are charging $5 an hour. So there's something crazy, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And that's again another reason why iRacing is great. People like just spotting. People like just spotting for somebody, and some people like crew chiefing, and some people like just calling the races, and that's why this game is as great as it is. Boy, I don't think I'm leaving this game anytime soon, and that's because I have so much money invested in it. I can't possibly give up all my content. But anyway, that's another topic. All right, I was going to get into the news on how iRacing partnered with NASCAR to bring in a youth series. Okay, that's the news. There's no reason to have a full segment on it. This episode's been long enough. Well, Mike, thanks for being on. We should have you on to talk about the World Tour. Not the World Tour. The what's it called? When the countries, the clubs go after it. World Cup, right? Duh. Yeah, we should have you on to talk more about the World Cup. So, you just had your endurance race. I know that. So what's the next major World Cup event that we could have you on for to talk about?
Cool. Well, so the World Cup, the next one is the Armageddon, and it's really more of a fun event.
Oh yeah, that doesn't count.
It's the demo derby.
That's a demo derby, and it's on the anniversary of a major massacre in World War II. I just want to point that out. So
I was made aware of that. So.
Because I said something as a joke, and it got. So anyway, yes, okay, keep going. What's next?
So
What's after that?
After that, we have the well, you'll cringe because you just got done running 8 billion laps there, but it's the Ring of Fire, which is the it's basically the hot lapping.
I'm not gonna cringe. Get me on there. I'm like I am addicted to this place now. I love it.
There you go. So basically, the Ring of Fire is pretty cool because you qualify all week long as an individual. You just run the fastest lap you can run. You can put in as many laps as you want to, and basically, each club will add up their 5 fastest times to get their time as a club, whatever that is, right? So you're New Jersey.
All right. So we already know what club won.
Well, maybe right. But the final two clubs are going to go at it on Saturday of, I forget, it's late June, but they're going to go at it, and we're basically going to send them out rally style, so one at a time, and but not after a lap complete. So it'll be one goes, 15 seconds later the next one goes, and basically we'll add up their times for their 5. But it's going to be interesting, the dynamic as they start to intermix on the track. But anyway, that's the next one, is the Ring of Fire. But the main event will happen in October and November, and all of that is it's basically it's road and oval. The members will get to vote on the content that we use, whether it's cup cars or trucks or whatever we use on the roadside. But the members will get to decide what that's going to be. So looking forward to it.
All right, so we'll have you on sometime in September to talk about that for sure, if you're interested.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Yeah. If you haven't looked at your club forums in a while, go to your club sub forum. I'm sure there's somebody in your club begging for people to race the World Cup. So if you can find out more information in your club sub forums. Every club has a liaison that basically begs people.
that is sadly true. Yes.
Yeah, from my experience, I was in Plains and then Ohio and now New Jersey. So in all three of those, there was definitely a beggar. All right, Mike. Thanks for being on. Give us your one last plug.
Boy, I don't know. I think
PacificMajors.com.
That's right. PacificMajors.com. Come see us. Join up. But no, you did a nice
And
job.
if you're a member of the club, buy a season pass. Damn it, give this guy $30, $10,000 to run this thing. Come on, throw the guy a bone, or buy a shirt or something.
There you go. Buy a shirt or a poster or something.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm with you. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
And that's my show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and more importantly, share. Let's grow.
That's the end of my show. Donk.